Well, hello, everyone. I'm Nancy Lucier from AVI-SPL, and we are in the collaboration space. And today we're going to be talking about security meeting simplicity, specifically adding robust security to your Android-based meeting devices. And to help me do that today is Josh Blaylock from Jabra. Josh, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to talking about this. This is a cool topic. So.
Yeah, me too. Me too. So for those who haven't met you, can you tell our audience a little bit about yourself and what you do for Jabra?
Sure, yeah. So my name is Josh Blaylock. I'm the chief evangelist at Jabra. What that means is I help tell our story, right? It's very much a storyteller role at various ways, whether it's video content being created, presence at events, doing interviews. That's just the nature of the role, is getting out there and whatever our news is, whatever the solution story is, crafting that for the audience and letting people know that not only do we do amazing audio, as most people know us for, but we do some really cool video as well. So that's the nature of what I do at Jabra.
Perfect. Thank you. And, I did set it up as that we're going to be talking about security today. So maybe share your thoughts. Why is security such a growing concern, even more today, for collaboration technology, especially in meeting rooms?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's, the big word of the day, of the year, of the everything. AI introduces a whole new element of security concerns, largely because organizations are seeing change happen faster than they can keep up with or understand. And so when that happens, you've got to stop and wonder, okay, where is the security piece that we're missing? That's one big area. But meeting rooms, when you think about it, they're kind of an area that they're off. I don't want to say unmonitored, but you think about your desk space or your own spot that you're responsible for. You lock your screen when you're away. You have your credentials you're signed into. They're your credentials. You know who's accessing it when. Same with your phone, and whether it's looking at your face or your thumbprint or whatever it is, it's yours. It's locked down, and if you make a mistake on it, then the responsibility ends up coming back on you. But in a meeting room, whose is that, right? There's no one sitting in there gatekeeping that meeting room. It's not signed into by the people that are in the room, unless, of course, we're talking a BYOD setup, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a video bar, like in most cases, that is running an operating system signed into by a user into the platform they're using, and that is it's not an individual user, it's a meeting room user that gets used by everyone. So if that room becomes compromised, if that room is somehow a entry point for getting onto the network, or if someone is already on the network and the room is an extra point that they can exploit, then it becomes a big concern, because it's not given the same treatment as individuals are. It's not locked down the same way.
You mentioned a great point.
I think that's why, yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned a great point, Josh. Sorry to interrupt you, but you mentioned a great point. Like, who is responsible, right? I've just expanded my attack surface. Who's responsible? And sounds like, IT decision makers are going to kind of be looking at device security a little bit harder than they used to.
And they have to in those spaces, right? Because at the end of the day, you got to lean on your IT department to say, what is our strategy? How are we locking this down? How secure are these devices? And of course, your security team has to come in at that point and do an assessment. If it's an operating system, they got to vet who is making that operating system and what that process. There's a whole thing that goes into that. So IT is having to take on this great new challenge of, okay, security is never growing problem. It's increasingly growing with AI, and we've got meeting rooms to worry about, and we have different stakeholders wanting to adopt Android bars, which is a bigger, scarier thing for us, because we know how to lock down a lot of Windows devices, and Microsoft makes a big, robust environment for locking down and applying policies and controlling, et cetera, devices that are Windows-based. But Android-based, up to this point, has been a very big concern for most IT organizations.
So Josh, you just gave us the perfect segue into our next topic. I know that Microsoft has a specific solution to address these challenges on Android-based devices. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we're talking about Microsoft Devices Ecosystem Platform. A much easier way to say that is MDEP. And that is, the solution that Microsoft came up with, and we were kind of right there at the very beginning of the development cycle for this. We've done a lot of co-innovation with Microsoft for a very long time, had a lot of firsts in the market, right? And we're very proud of that, but it means we're usually there early to try these new capabilities out. And as Microsoft was getting ready to deploy this, we began to work with them, and it really solves the problem of, hey, organizations are interested in going Android because it is usually an all-in-one, simple to deploy option in the conference room. It takes away that more complex modular approach of a Windows-based system. But security is usually the thing that stops the conversation if it does get stopped for various reasons. But the interesting thing for a lot of organizations is when they're asked, well, you might have hesitations about deploying an Android bar by a third party, right? And yet another manufacturer making another operating system that your security team has to vet and go through testing and all this good stuff. What if Microsoft made the operating system, right? What if it wasn't a third party? It was a name that you already have hundreds, thousands of devices deployed on. You know that it's secure. You know that it's solid. You know you can trust Microsoft to build and deliver operating systems. Well, that usually changed the conversation. Right? That usually made customers have pause and be like, that could be an interesting conversation to have. What if Microsoft did it? And so that's what MDEP is. It's a new operating system. It allows Microsoft teams to run on it. The big question for a lot of customers that are kind of in multiple platforms was like, but what about Zoom? It lets Zoom run on the operating system. In the future, it could be letting things like Google Meet run on the. It's not a matter of locking customers into Teams. It's a matter of Microsoft providing a stable, secure operating system platform for the Android side. And that's exactly what they do. So Jabra was very excited to be the first partner out there to market with an upgradable Android option to over-the-air update to MDEP with our Panacast 50 VBS. We just recently put that update out there so customers are able to easily update their existing Panacast 50 VBS to MDEP. No difference to the end user in the room because, again, it's just the operating system. It's now running MDEP and it still runs Teams, Rooms, whatever on the device. So that's what MDEP is. Microsoft is committed to meeting those security concerns by, deploying quarterly updates when it comes to features, monthly updates when it comes to security updates. They've got a cadence there, and that really puts ease in the minds of IT departments that have to solve for that security angle.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned ease, and also if I'm in IT and I'm in charge of all these devices, my comfort level just went up, right, by 1,000% if I know this solution is coming from Microsoft. So Josh, you mentioned the Panacast 50, and I know that there's another device coming out. What makes those devices, you touched on it a little bit, but expand a little bit more on what makes those devices stand out when we talk about MDEP integration.
Yeah, this is the easy part, right? Because I get to talk about why our devices
you get to talk about you.
Yes, why we love them, why they're so amazing. But yeah, you mentioned another device, right? So Panacast 50 VBS. And so just to clarify really quick there, you've got Panacast 50, and that's it's either Windows-based or bring your own device-based BYOD USB plug-and-play video bar. And that's kind of where we started. Then we introduced an Android bar, and that's the Panacast 50 VBS. That stood for Video Bar System originally, but we just call it VBS now. And then we are coming out with a bar because those first two bars were really meant for the meeting room that is of a medium size. That's the perfect fit for it, a medium-sized meeting space. But we also positioned them in a lot of small spaces as well. The thing is, they could be a little bit of overkill in those spaces in some circumstances. So after talking to customers, listening to their needs, and looking at the larger addressable market there, we decided the next bar we're going to bring to market will be specifically geared towards small rooms, huddle spaces, and that's where the Panacast 40 VBS comes into play. And you'll see we named it again with the VBS to indicate this is an Android-based bar. And while the Panacast 50 VBS is upgradable to MDEP now, Panacast 40 VBS will ship at the end of the summer, mid-2025 timeframe. It'll ship with MDEP on board. There's no upgrading that device. It's going to have it right out the gate. What makes these devices amazing, to the original question, is really that what we call the Panacast experience, kind of present at the original Panacast 50 and carried forward through the line. we wanted to make sure that as customers picked the right device for the right room, and whether they were meeting their Windows needs or their Android needs or whatever their choice was, that they came to expect a certain level of performance, quality, and set of experiences from our video devices in whatever room. And that means 180-degree field of view to start with. That's our base, that's our claim to fame, and that's the thing that makes us truly unique when you stack us up against others out in that space. When you think about why 180-degree is important, you think about those little rooms where tables are up against the wall, you're maximizing that real estate. You really need to be able to capture everyone in that room who are sometimes tucked into the corners at the front of the room just to fit those few people in that small space. Kind of a scenario you would never even think about back in the days of COVID when everyone should not be that close. But as we embrace these smaller spaces and people are tacked into these smaller spaces a little more tightly, 180 degrees makes sure nobody is left out anywhere in that room and that everybody looks natural. You're not capturing someone in the corner, but they're all fish-eyed and skewed. It's a natural 180-degree across the field view. And so that's the base. From there, we have several cool intelligent-based features that video modes that people can use, whether it's tracking the active speaker, framing into the active group in the room. There's another one called Intelligent Meeting Space, which is important for open office environments or rooms that have a glass wall behind them. In those cases where you're framing the active participants, you don't want to capture someone walking by in the background and frame them in for a second just to have it framed back to the actual people in the meeting. You want to ignore the people walking in the back. So you need to define how far back does this room actually go in the software. And that's where Intelligent Meeting Space lets you define the actual parameters of the room, the size of it, so that the other video modes are ignoring anyone that walks by that doesn't belong in the shot. And there's a few other capabilities on board, depending on what your use cases are. You've got whiteboard content camera capabilities in the Panacast 50, which is the ability to capture an in-room physical whiteboard, bring it into the meeting as a digital manifestation of that whiteboard. A couple other bells and whistles when it comes to identifying people in their room by their faces, by their spoken voice, as it integrates with Microsoft's own intelligent platforms and Copilot. They made it possible for people to be recognized if they choose and enroll by their faces, by their voices, all in the Teams environment, but they need very clear, very accurate, very qualified data coming into the Teams platform in order to do that. And that's where the Panacast 50, again, we've worked very close with Microsoft to bring those features to market and bring those capabilities to market to enhance and complete the Copilot story. So that's really what makes the devices unique, what makes them consistent across spaces, and why we're really excited to see this latest device, Panacast 40 VBS, come to market here in just a couple of months.
Great. And you mentioned a couple of things that stood out for me. One is, video enabling those smaller spaces. We're seeing a lot more of that because everybody is hybrid. So every space needs to be video enabled. So I love that. You mentioned the 180-degree view. So I'm not compromising my user experience with all of these great security features that come on board with that as well. So I love, and the speaker framing that you mentioned. So love that user experience too. So Josh, a lot to think about, a lot to share with our audience. Thank you so much. I appreciate you joining me today.
Of course. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. And for everyone listening today, thanks for joining us. Don't forget that when you are ready to deploy your Jabra solutions, the AVI-SPL team is here to help you wherever you are on your journey to plan, deploy, and operate your Jabra and meeting room solutions. Don't forget to follow us on YouTube so you never miss a video episode of the Collaboration Space. And if you want to listen to the audio feed, simply search for the Collaboration Space on your favorite podcast app. Thanks again, and have a great day. For more information, visit avispl.com/Jabra.